So today I'm talking about a Honda with the P0113 code, what it is, and how you go about fixing it. So what is the Honda P0113 code? Well, it's an O2 sensor circuit slow response bank 1 sensor 1. And what does this mean? Well, the onboard computer uses different sensors to see how much oxygen is in the system, and the O2 sensor is on the exhaust and reports back how much has been burnt off from the combustion. And the onboard computer is seeing an error inside of the circuit, so it'd have to be troubleshooted to know why. And some of the possible causes is it could be a bad oxygen sensor, it could be in the wiring, it could be an open or short, the harness that connects it might not be plugged in good, and it could also be fuel contamination or an ejector leak or something along these lines, but these are pretty rare. Usually it's going to be the oxygen sensor and the wiring, but keep in mind it could possibly be these other things. And so the oxygen sensor is going to be located on the exhaust, and there's going to be two of them. There's going to be an upstream and a downstream oxygen sensor, and the way this works is that there'll be one before the catalytic converter and one after the catalytic converter, and they're called the upstream and the downstream. And with this code, it is pointing to the upstream oxygen sensor, but it is possible that the other one's having issues, but this code is pointing to the upstream. And the upstream sensor could be down on the exhaust like this, or it could be on the exhaust manifold inside the engine compartment when you pop open the hood. It could just vary on the Hondas, but it'll be there on the exhaust somewhere before the catalytic converter is the one you want. And so the first thing you do after you locate the O2 sensor is to check out all this wiring. Be sure this wiring harness looks good and that there's no issue there, because bad wiring could cause the same issues as a bad sensor. And if the wiring all looks good, most people would just go ahead and swap out the sensor. And they're low-cost parts. I'll jump over on Amazon to give you an idea how much they cost. And they range around $30, $40, $50 right there, $79, but they're not super high-cost parts or anything like that. So while you can't test them, most people would just go and swap them out. But however you want to do it, the next step would be to either test or replace that oxygen sensor. And one thing to mention is that these sensors have a special tool, and sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you could get them in without using the tool, but like this one right here, how it's recessed in there, you almost need that tool to be able to get in there without cutting the wire or anything. And it can vary. Sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you can get on it with an open-end wrench and tighten it up. But if it looks recessed like this, then you might want to get that special tool to make the job easier. And so what do you do if you have a Honda with the P0113 code? Well, first thing to do, find that upstream oxygen sensor, because that's the one that the code is pointing to having an issue with. Once you locate it, check out the wiring. Be sure the wiring all looks good. If that looks good, either test or swap out that O2 sensor to rule it out. And if you do that and the issue's still there, then many people would go ahead and swap out the second sensor, but it's likely going to be in the wiring or something along these lines. You want to double check that wiring really well. Be sure there's no open shorts, anything like this, because it could be in the wiring. And so that's basically it. I just want to give a real quick brief overview of how you can go about fixing a Honda with a P0113 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.